What's going on, guys? This is Mr. Teej66's Movie Reviews. I am Mr. Teej66, joined once again by my good friend.
Hello, I'm Scott.
And we just watched Predator 2. Now, Scott, you had never seen this film before, despite hearing about it for many, many years. We literally just got done with it.
Yep.
And what was your opinion on Predator 2?
It kind of was all over the place. Like I was just mentioning, I think one of the reasons that I haven't seen it was just because people who had were like, it's different, it's not the same as the first one, so I didn't, for whatever reason, just didn't have much interest. But I have to say, if it wasn't associated with Predator, like if it was a standalone like villain, maybe it was a new villain or whatever, like it would probably be better than it was for me. You know, like if it weren't just, it's Predator 2, like if it was a standalone movie with like a different villain, I think it would be cooler.
Okay, so you're now is that comparing it to the original film?
Definitely.
Okay, yeah, because you obviously have to do that because this came out 3 years after the original film. I thought it was it's a very fairly well made sequel. It lacks, as I said when we were watching it, the main criticism I have for it is the lack of originality, and just there's not really much suspense. Like once you know what the Predator is, because they try to hide him again, not show his face. It's like, well, we already know what the Predator looks like, so there's not really any suspense or anything like that. But they do try to make up for it with more gadgetry.
That's true.
He has a lot more weapons, a lot more, nets and spears, which of course have been incorporated into the comic books and the basic lore. But overall, I found this to be a solidly well-made movie.
Yeah, I like we were talking about when it started. Like I was really happy with the casting of Danny Glover. Like if it had been any other kind of, besides Arnold Schwarzenegger, obviously, like if any other action star or like handsome asshole in a movie, like it wouldn't have been the same. But like Danny Glover he was awesome as an action lead, you know?
I mean, the character himself is not really that well written. It's kind of just generic cop who, gets mad and, breaks the rules a lot. But because it's Danny Glover, I sort of give that not quite a pass, but I go along with it because it's Danny fucking Glover. And he's a blast to watch. Whenever he curses at people, it's great. He's great. It's just, I don't know what's happened to him in recent years, but I really wish he would come back and do more mainstream stuff.
Probably just maybe he's like spending time with grandkids, or he has like I don't know, he's a cucumber farmer now or something. He just spending some time.
Cucumber farmer. That's
spending some time alone, away from crazy action movies. But yeah, another thing too was his wardrobe. I thought it was awesome that he was kind of like dressed like a noir detective. Almost,
yeah, I actually never thought about that before, but there is a little bit the hats and the sort of not. I don't. Does anyone? Nobody really wears like a trench coat or anything like that.
No, but he kind of has that like L.A. 50s noir, like loose clothes to combat the heat. You know, like Bill Paxton was kind of dressed the same way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. Even though this movie is hardly any kind of like 50s because it's bloody as hell.
No, but it almost seems like maybe that was like a dorky little nod because it's set in L.A., right? You know?
Yeah. During a heat wave, which they do a good job of conveying, everyone feels like they're constantly sweating.
Yeah.
Like their clothes are always drenched with sweat. So kudos to the filmmakers for really conveying that.
And how cool was it to see annoyance of his day, Morton Downey Jr. get punched by Danny Glover while holding a camera?
Now, for all you younger people out there who don't know, Morton Downey Jr. was a well-known talk show host at the time this film came out. Apparently, his talk show was not real, or he faked a lot of it. Apparently,
wasn't it similar to like Donahue, Jerry Springer, like that kind of thing, where it was like shock TV?
Yeah, and apparently a lot of it was fake, and he got caught and eventually just was booted off the air. But yeah, he plays basically this himself. I mean, there's really no way around it. And he does have a good comeuppance where he gets punched out by Danny Glover. Fuck you! Pow!
I was also really happy to see Ruben Blades.
Blades?
Ruben Blades, I think.
Is that how it's saying?
Something like yes.
Okay.
But he was awesome. I was happy to see him. I was sad that, like I was saying, I was sad that his character went.
Spoiler warning.
Spoiler, yeah. But like I feel like to have any sort of like emotion to it. It had to, like, if it was Bill Paxton's character that went first, right? Like, it wouldn't have been like,
Yeah, because he's kind of obnoxious.
he's kind of slimy.
But Bill Paxton is in this movie as well, and he is just a blast to watch. Rest in peace. I always get sad whenever I see him in movies because he went too quick.
Yeah.
Or too soon, I should say. But the production design is fantastic. It has, for some reason, they set it in the far distant future of 1997. I don't quite know why. There's really no reason. I mean, I guess
10 years after the first one.
Yeah. So I guess the excuse to have like sort of semi-futuristic cars and stuff like that, but I found that to be kind of unnecessary. You could have just had it in current 1990, and it wouldn't have made any difference.
It's also funny too that like action movies of this era were just like cashing in on, for lack of a better term, like the violence in LA of the time. You know,
Oh yeah, this
like
movie...
Demolition Man. Wasn't Demolition Man set in 1997 as well? Or no, it started in 1997.
Yeah, I believe so.
It's like, look, everything's run by gangs and there's explosions everywhere.
Yeah,
and like, that's how this
yeah.
movie starts out. It's just, you know, like the predators come to hunt for, like, because there's just excessive violence on Earth or whatever.
By the way, this movie is insanely violent.
Yes, it
apparently it had to get resubmitted to the MPA like a couple times, and they had to cut a lot of the violence out because some of it is pretty grisly. I'd like to see an extended cut of this movie.
That would be, I'm not like a George Bush senior type who's just like, there should be less violence in movies, but like it was gratuitous in a way that to me wasn't as like campy as RoboCop. Like the violence in RoboCop to me is like so campy and over the top. It's wonderful.
Oh yeah.
But in this movie,
very,
you know, like,
very satirical.
Yeah, like the voodoo ritual or whatever it was, where they cut the dude's heart out.
Oh.
Like, it's a bit much.
I mean, from a technical standpoint, this movie is great. I mean, the production design looks great. The sets are fantastic. The practical effects on the Predator are great.
They're really great.
Done by Stan Winston once again, who also did the first film. I think they do a good job of making him feel like a different Predator, like in his movements and everything like that. And the Predator was once again played by Kevin Peter Hall, who
also R.I.P.
Yes, indeed. Who unfortunately died of AIDS a year after this movie came out. And he also played the Predator in the first film. And to this day, no actor has matched him playing the Predator for movement. He just creates a very fluid sense of movement, and where you feel like there's a character there.
Yeah.
So overall, I mean, I would say this is a fairly watchable sequel. Nothing to get jump for joy about, but you know, it is competently made, and I do own it on Blu-ray, so you know it's worth a watch once in a while. I mean, the original film is just a classic.
It's timeless.
You know, it never gets old. The jungle is just a more interesting setting than the city. But one thing I do like about the film is that is that they didn't try to repeat the first. I mean, they do try to repeat the first film, but they try to take it to a different area, you know, the urban jungle, and for the most part, they do a good job on, you know, integrating the Predator into the urban jungle, but you know, it just isn't quite as memorable as the first film. But for rating wise, I would give this probably a 7.1. I thought it was a fairly solid sequel. It's watchable. I watch it every once in a while. How about you, Scott?
I'll give it like a 4.5.
Out of 10?
Out of 10, only because
that's pretty low.
It wasn't as great as I was anticipating it to be, but like I could push it to a 5.
Okay.
Only in that Danny Glover completely saves the day for me, because he's just wonderful in everything that he's done. Outside of the creature design and outside of like some of the set design, yeah, it didn't grab me as much as I was hoping that it would.
Okay.
But that said, you're right. Like as a standalone movie, it would be good to like, I don't know, watch if you're sick or if it's on TV. Like, oh, Predator 2's on. I have nothing to do today.
Okay.
You know, like, I don't think I would just watch it as much as I've seen the first one.
Just compared to the original, it's. I mean, I agree. The original is like probably. I forget what I gave the original film, but that's like a 9 out of 10 or something. That
easily.
Movie's a classic, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but overall, yeah. I guess we have a mixed reaction here. I recommend it. It doesn't sound like you recommend it quite as much.
No, I would definitely recommend seeing it if you have never seen it before, especially if one is a fan of the franchise and or the first movie. But yeah, I wouldn't like rush out to like, oh my god, I need to see Predator 2. But I am glad that I saw it
Finally,
like I said, because of Danny Glover.
Close that chapter. Finally saw it.
Yeah.
All right, so that I guess that just about wraps it up. This is Mr. T66 Movie Reviews, and Scott, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
And I will see you next time.